Greetings, everybody. This is Sharu with another daily astro weather update for April 25th. And today we have the moon in the constellation of Uttara Ashadha. It's the Vedic constellation, which spans at the end of Capricorn and goes into, whoops, let me adjust my whole thing here. We actually have it's at the end of Sagittarius. And so let's do this. Super fun. The end of Sagittarius. And it goes into Capricorn. Anyways, so the constellation is Uttara Shada, and it means the victory. And so I like to call it the winning constellation. You know, it's the one that grants us the unchallengeable victory. However, you can see from we can see from the board here that there's a bit of stress with the moon being with the south node of the moon. And so also Pluto is there as well. And so this causes it to be more of like an introspective time. Like we might be feeling like, gosh, I want to go out there and win the victory, but there's this kind of inward gaze preventing us from really going forward with things. You know, it's this interesting play that I've been talking about with Saturn being about work and responsibility, and we have this work to do, this homework assignment. And then the South Node, where we want to make it perfect. We want to have it be inspiring. And so if it's not meeting our ideals, then we just want to give up and not do it ultimately. So it's this really kind of stressful situation. And so the good news is that soon the moon will move out of this position. But to go further into Uttara Shada, it's ruled over by the Vishvadevas, which is basically all the gods. You know, that's why they're like, yeah, you're going to be victorious if you start things under this nakshatra or Vedic constellation. And so it's come to be associated with good old Ganesha, you know, the remover of obstacles and that persistence and following through, which you'll see in Capricorn is a kind of the deeper aspects of Capricorn is this perseverance and following through and just keep going day after day after day. And so, like I was saying, but right now, the moon is with the south node of the moon, Ketu. And so, you know, it's a head without a body. And so it's where we withdraw from life and where we want it to be perfect. And so we might kind of be like, I don't really want to take the step because it's not connected to the bigger picture of what I want, you know. And then also being with Pluto as well, the moon being in between this Ketu and Pluto, it creates that more deep introspective, you know, transformation state. And so luckily this will be done soon. But really it's just a good time for that, you know, introspective quality, you know, to just sit with your feelings and feel what you feel, you know, instead of pushing up against it and moving away from how you feel. You know, it's important to just really integrate it and let it mulch and let it transform. And so that's always a really good thing to do. And so right at around 3:30 PST today is when the moon finally moves out of this 2.25 day stressful situation. And so, you know, today's the constellation of the winning nakshatra. And so if you wait till after 3:30 to start something, you know, you're going to be by winning, right? You're going to be uber winning. So that's my update for today. And today we're going to have Paiuli and possibly Phaethon to look at their charts. And so let me go ahead and pull her up on Skype here, and we'll get going with it. Skype music's so good. I'm gonna remix it. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. Well, maybe she's not gonna join. Oh, there she is. Just in time. Hey, Pioli.
Hey, Sharu.
Hey. All right. So, uh, let me erase
Skype
these
music's
things.
so good. I'm gonna remix it.
Oh, you got to turn off your computer. We're hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, hang on.
Well,
Got it.
maybe she's not gonna join. Oh, there she is. Just in time.
Okay. Let me know when we're having. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Cool.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. So, hey, how's it going? All right. So let's pull up your chart here. But to get started, what inspired you to want to talk to me today?
I was listening to the show yesterday. I tune in if I have time at midday every day. So it's really wonderful just to get feedback. And it feels like the chart is really, or the watching the planets right now is really important. It just gives me a lot of kind of like contrast feedback to what I'm experiencing in life.
Yeah. Cool. So big news is that you started the subcycle of Mercury. And so I'm curious, like what kind of shifts you've experienced because you have a really strong Mercury in its own sign of Virgo here, and I'll show it on the board. Right, and so it's creating this really strong combination in the seventh house of partnerships and contracts ultimately. And so I'm curious, like what you've been experiencing since basically the solstice, or excuse me, the equinox.
So I've been experiencing a lot of internal shifts from the external world, a lot of contrast I've noticed, and very much kind of shifting away from the external world of the root chakra and external kind of materialistic influences and going very deeply into my internal work, like finding like a very beautiful mentor and teacher who provides a lot of guidance and clarity within a very direct streamline of my path. So I feel like I've kind of switched on into a very from external into a very internal perspective of like my work of service.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so it's been pretty big actually.
I bet, I bet. And so what's been going on since that shift is so you're a Pisces rising, so you're heavily influenced by whatever Jupiter is doing. And so I've been talking about Jupiter has been going through that center of the galaxy and has been dancing between this point of your career with like your essence, like your highest offering, like your dharma. And so yeah, and so you've been in this like kind of like black hole area, right? And that's a really unique feature of your chart because you have the moon and the Mars and I think Jupiter as well. Uh, yeah, everything's in Mula, right? And so everything is in that root for you. And so, deeply impactful time of just like getting rid of all the things that aren't true and aren't your essence, and it's really wobbly with the finance part, right?
Right.
I remember at the beginning of the year, you're like, I'm going to do this program. I was like, oh, I don't know if you should, but okay, remember that?
I do very much.
Yeah, yeah. But I was hoping, with this Mercury being triggered, that could be some sort of, opening for you in that way.
I feel like it is an opening for me, and I feel like there's a crystallization of my internal like dharmic path that is coming through, but that needs a lot of like you said, there needs to be practice, there needs to be consistency, there needs to be devotion and commitment
Yeah.
for that crystallization to actually occur. To be able to take your dharmic path out into the world is actually a very, very big aspect to be working in, especially when we have this majority kind of world consensus like pushing against us as individuals, and then also we have our individual like dharmic path as a service, and that sometimes is very different than what we perceive it to be.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've been at this, just trying, not trying, but doing the astrology full time since 2013, and it's finally got me this many years to finally just be more public about it like this.
Right.
Yeah, and so it takes a while to get into that groove, but
It takes a while to get into the crystallization. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, yep,
Sorry, I'm moving around a little bit. The sun is moving with me.
it's okay. Um, okay, great. And so, what question do you have for me today, or do you have anything?
I would just love an over kind of view of my chart.
Okay,
I
cool.
just really appreciate that. It's always a really wonderful guidance tuning in with you.
Yeah. All right. So we have right now in the transits, we have Saturn and the South Node going over, within Sagittarius in your career. So it creates like I have this big work to do in career, and then right when you entered into this cycle on the equinox, that's when the South Node, moved into career, and so it created this at the same time, like it's a head without a body. So this like withdrawal as well. It's like, all right, you're like cranking along with Saturn there, and then after the spring equinox, it's like, like it has to be connected to my highest path and enlightenment, right?
Totally, yes.
Yeah. And so, I saw this coming, but I just kind of let it go and was like, she needs to do this and take this bigger risk to make it, more extreme transformation for you, right?
Right. It's very, very deep transformation. I feel like there's a lot of letting go of all of these preconceived ideas of even from the past of what we think we should have been doing, and really anchoring into a deeper truth. And sometimes that deeper truth, a lot of the times that deeper truth takes a lot of like, you need to get really deeply in touch with yourself,
Yeah.
in touch with your shadow, in touch with your light. And you need to look at all of the shadow aspects and bring those into the light and nurture and love those to be able to be in service to your highest benefit for all.
Right. Definitely. So yeah. So now with the South Node here for the next year and a half, I describe it in the positive sense of being like a real refinement period. Whenever I see this, and so, it's but also what happens is, the hard part is that there's still this homework assignment from Saturn in career, and like wanting to like let it go, and not take action, and that's what I'm seeing is a concern, you know, for you to like be sure that you're still taking action, that you're still doing your karma, or action it just means karma, and so to still be doing that, like your essence, like you're a roots lady, like you're super deep in transformation, you have all this power in your chart, in your career, and doing this profound thing like mula. This is all the root, right? So it's just keep going and digging into that. But I encourage you to just put yourself out there, even though it doesn't feel right.
Okay, because that's been a definite thing where it needs to feel right for me. So you're encouraging me just to break through and keep being consistent with that.
Yeah, it's never going to feel right.
Okay.
It's never, and so people need to have your, your herb products. People need to have that for their health and wellness. So, it's almost like you're keeping all this information to yourself when you could be helping a lot of people, right? And there your friend Faith is saying like, yes, that's true.
I've been telling her to go on YouTube and talk about her herbs and the high frequency that they are.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter like how many people are watching right now, like 2 for me, right? Or whatever. And you guys,
Right.
like I'm just going to keep doing it. And
Right.
and
It's consistency.
keep innovating. So
Oh.
and it's just keeping your dharma. It's like what you
Seems to
do.
be a little feedback.
Right. Okay, so do you want to look at Faith's?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So let me set up her info here.
Hi, Sharu. Thank you so much for being available in this
you're
way.
welcome. Yeah. So let me pull up your chart here with all the things. Mercury is Gatorade when you were born. Yeah. Jupiter and Mars. Venus. And the Moon. And Saturn. And you are a Leo rising. Okay. And are you familiar with your Western chart?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, everything moves back a sign typically, about 23 degrees. And so you would be a Virgo rising, correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So let's get this all set up again. All right. Okay. So we'll just do a brief chart interpretation here. So Leo rising, but more specifically in the Vedic constellation Magha, which has to deal with ancient traditions, and it's dealing with the past and honoring that and wanting a legacy and wanting to do, like hitting a home run in life, wanting to do the epic thing. Yeah. And so, and then you also have the moon at the beginning part of, let's see here. Just want to pull this up. I believe it's, my computer is going slow. Okay. Yeah, Danista. And so Danista also, it means the wealthy or the famous, and it's like wanting to rise to eminence, wanting to, they call it like rubbing elbows with the gods, and so it's this similar energy of wanting to rise to the top in that way. And the moon in the 7th house is very much, being really sensitive to other people's needs. It's almost like bringing out that eminence in other people, bringing out that height in other people. And then you have a really powerful thing here in the 8th house, which is all about change, transformation, metamorphosis. And so Paiuli has that really strong as well. And so you have Jupiter in its own sign of Pisces. So you're just like super duper, non-religious and super spiritual. Like what's the evolving, ever watery truth, right? And then you have Mars with it, and it creates that like spiritual warrior. Like I'm gonna put all of my effort into this thing, into transformation, And so both you and Paiuli have this Jupiter Mars, so that's why you're homies, right? You're both like we're gonna transform the world, roar,
Rawr.
roar. So yeah, and then that's Paiuli's rising sign as well as Pisces, and so you almost like install in Paiuli like the teacher and the guru, and like going on that really hard path and helping her motivate, so pretty cool to see how things overlap. And and so then you have all this in Taurus in the Vedic system, the Sun, Mercury retrograde, and the South Node. And so, wanting things to grow, being like an earth person, you know, being really associated with making things grow and flourish. And this Mercury retrograde, ultimately, it's retrograde is like overflowing of that planetary energy. So Mercury is. Can you mute the whatever you got going on there? I can hear myself echo.
Hang on.
And so Mercury retrograde, uh, it's like overflowing with like processing of information and searching, because this is a part of the end of Taurus, which is about the searching star, and so it's looking for that fulfillment. And so what happened right before you were born, Mercury crossed over from Gemini into Taurus, so it's even more in this transition state. So it would mean like your mind would be kind of need more balancing, you know, need more stability, right? So like a Mercury mantra would be good, and things like this. Can you relate to that at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like constantly searching for the next thing, and but ultimately this Mirgashira, it's like looking for the sauce, looking for the nectar, you know, looking for the medicines, ultimately. So it's this endless search for that. And I just can assume that you're hanging out with Paiuli. That's like a big part of your life, you know. um, and then we have Saturn in the end part of Gemini, which is Punarvasu, which is the mother goddess. And so it's like really committing to these bigger ambitions of creating environments for things to grow. And so maybe there's in a way, you can maybe block yourself from creating environments for yourself to thrive, but maybe you do it for other people. You know, I don't know. Can you relate to that?
I can relate to that very well.
Yeah, a lot of times Saturn is, once we evolve into it, then it becomes our great power. But at first, it's like this kind of block that we have. You know, so in this case, it's like creating that environment for yourself rather than just other people. And then also you have the Venus as well in this transition zone, but still it's in that same constellation, the mother goddess, and making things good again. And so that's what you would do with relationships. There's this big theme of transformation in your chart, and yeah, it's very much focused on helping other people and being more associated with like the work of other people. And so it's just, maybe your thing would be to like take that back into yourself, you know, and really like work with yourself and know that, like I see the Saturn and Venus really close. It's like in order for you to feel value, you need to show value to people rather than just being valuable, right? And so to just go within that and to know that you're valuable and know your value, and then that'll allow you to offer even more to people and do what you do. Cool. So that's a brief chart interpretation. But do you have any questions or anything you wanted to look at?
I can't think of anything offhand. I'm still trying to digest everything that you're just explaining.
Right. Okay. And so right now you're in, this is what's really cool, the cycle of the major cycle of Saturn started around 2011. And so that's like, okay, there's this service and work to do to the community and these like partnerships and really bringing out, you know, making them good again, you know, making people prosper and creating those environments and giving support in that way. And so right now you're in the subcycle of Venus. And so this real going for like the higher vision of how you help people is really what's up right now, and it goes all the way till February of 2021. You know, so it's a longer cycle. And Venus rules your 10th house of career. It rules Taurus. And so this is a really big time for your career and to actualize your right career. However, like my guest yesterday, you have Venus at the 0 degrees, right? So it's like hard to, it's not as foundational. And so it's almost like you need to add more in order for it to really take weight, in order for it to express itself. And also just being up here in the 12th house, it can be very idealistic, and you already have that going on with this really strong Pisces, of wanting it to be this certain way, right? And so with Venus, you can do like magic Vedic stuff, like the mantra for Venus, or like diamonds or white stones to help add more Venus.
Okay.
Ask him which finger if you were gonna wear.
It doesn't really matter. I don't get in
Doesn't
the
really
details. Yeah,
Okay.
I just get into
Thank you.
just keep it in your energetic field, and you can get specific, and I would say like intuitively feel where it goes. Yeah, but right, and so and also just being in women's groups as well, to have that more of that Venus, that feminine energy for you, and that can help give it support as well. Yeah, cool. Well, that was a quick little orientation and tune-up. Yeah, do you have any questions?
Thank you. That was really helpful, because I've always just kind of wondered why I've been so sort of focused on helping others sort of see their worth and their value and lift them up. And I feel it within myself, so that's why I can share from that space. But it's confirming that I am also in relationship to my chart, and that I'm not pushing it. I'm just relating with myself in the aspects that I already kind of have going. So, and I've been an earth worker, and so to see the sidereal chart versus my Western chart, the sidereal works way more, because all I have is one earth aspect, my rising in Virgo in the Western, whereas here it's confirming why I offer the earth energy so much to so many people around me.
Yeah.
And why I'm so committed there to creating Eden and beauty. And so I really appreciate seeing that everything's on track.
Yeah. Yeah, I find people really feel their Western chart describes more of how they interact with maybe just the Western culture, but the Vedic chart it's like this deeper soul level. I feel like people express that they feel touched on a way deeper level. Doggies.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then the south node of the moon it causes that your expression to be a very idealistic, spiritualizing expression in career. And so that's another thing. Like Paoli is going through this with the transit, having it here, but you have it natally at your birth, and so maybe it causes you to go more inward rather than express yourself, right? And then like obsessing over like what's the best medicine, like over and over and over, rather than just like going forward with it. So again, it's like just put yourself out there and offer it. And I would say like starting like a woman's circle, or being a part of one would really help you kind of like trigger and activate your offering to the world. And yeah, because you have so much powerful transformation to offer people, and you're totally in tune with their needs, their feelings, and the security and what they need to grow and what they need to thrive. You're really good at that. So yeah. Cool.
Beautiful. Thank you for that piece.
Yeah.
I was just creating a women's empowerment series at a wellness center that just started up here in Penn Valley.
Great.
And so it's just right on point of with what you're saying.
Great.
Thank you.
Yay.
Super. Yay.
Awesome. Cool. Well, perfect. Unless there's anything else, really great to have you guys on today.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah. And best of luck and many blessings. Yeah.
Many blessings.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Okay. Aloha.
Aloha.
All right. Great. Well, thanks for everybody who tuned in or is watching the recording. And I'll be back again tomorrow, 12 noon PST. And I was also contemplating doing these lives more like at 8 p.m. and then talking about the energy of the next day. So, leave a comment or let me know if you like this noon time or 1 p.m. time, or should I move it to later and then talk about the energy of the next day. All right. Well, good to have everybody show up, and many blessings to you. And, remember after 3 p.m., 3 p.m. is, if you want to be winning, start something after 3:30 p.m. All right. Many blessings. Ciao.